Hello everyone, I'm the Saxy Gamer, and today we're here for yet another Civilization 6 Leader Spotlight, where today we'll be taking a look at Philip of Spain, and this has been one that I've been playing on stream. It's been a few weeks now, I guess, at this point, but fairly recently I've been playing him on stream, so now it's time to actually give my thoughts and opinions on him, since he has received a number of changes since the original Leader Spotlight came out. So what do you say, let's go ahead and start to dive right on into what is new with Philip. Philip's first ability is known as El Escorial, and I don't believe it's really changed significantly at all. It makes it so that he can remove heresy one extra time with his Inquisitors. In addition to this, Inquisitors eliminate 100% of the presence of other religions as opposed to just a portion of it. Combat and religious units also do gain a bonus of +5 combat strength against players following other religions. So El Escorial is a pretty decent ability, I think, just because the +5 combat strength is particularly useful because that means that you can play him for domination or religion and you're going to get some decent bonus out of this. +5 combat strength isn't an insanely high bonus, but it's definitely something that is fairly significant and one that you can make good use of, so that part of the ability is really good. The stuff with Inquisitors, I honestly never really find myself using, so I just never really use Inquisitors to begin with. So Inquisitors are used to remove other people's religion from your land, but if you're playing a religious game or anything that you are going to be, religion focused, chances are you're going to be making sure that you are converting everything to your own religion anyways, so it's kind of a problem of, I guess it's not really the problem, but it's just more so that the playstyle that Philip plays ends up with this not being a problem half the time anyways, so who cares if you're able to get rid of your religion, because chances are your religion is going to be dominant just naturally in your land anyways. Overall though, El Escorial, a fairly decent ability. Philip's second ability is known as Treasure Fleet, and it makes it so that he may form fleets and armadas with mercantilism instead of nationalism and mobilization, so quite a bit earlier here. In addition to this, trade routes will receive +3 gold, 2 faith, and 1 production. Trade routes between multiple continents then get these yields tripled. In addition to this, cities not on your original capital's continent will receive +25% production towards districts and a builder when founded. So this ability has been changed significantly since Philip first came out. So first off, the ability to form fleets and armadas quite a bit earlier is quite good if you're going to be going naval domination, but if you've watched this channel before, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of naval domination because it's very easy counterable. Just settle one tile away from the coast and put a harbor in the ocean instead, and you pretty much have all the benefits of a coastal city without actually having to settle coastally. So the fleets and armadas earlier are definitely good, but also just naval domination as a whole is kind of bad in Civ 6. The trade route bonuses are, however, quite helpful if you're able to get the trade routes between multiple continents, so these do count for internal trade routes as well. So if you get a trade route between 2 of your own cities, you will receive +9 gold, 6 faith, and 3 production from that trade route, even if it's between your cities, so plus then also the normal benefits from an internal trade route, but this works for both internal and external trade routes, so plenty of extra gold, faith, and production to be gotten here. The production bonus is definitely the least impactful because only 3 production is not that big of a boost, but the 9 gold definitely does add up quite a bit as you get more trade routes, and the faith can as well, so I think this part of the ability is fairly decent. The bonus production towards districts on your with cities that aren't on your capital's original continent as well is fairly decent, but the free builder is really nice as well because it really helps you get some of those newly founded cities up and running very fast. So I do quite like that, and the bonus production towards district is also quite nice as well. But this one a little bit harder to utilize just because it requires that you have that you either spawn on a continent split or really go out of your way to make sure you're finding other continents. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Spain's unique unit, which is known as the Conquistador, and this is a replacement for the Musketmen. So the Conquistador has a melee strength of 58, which is 3 more than the Musketmen, a movement of 2, which is the same, and a production cost of 250, which is 10 more than the Musketmen. In addition to this, the Conquistador will get an additional +10 combat strength when within 1 tile of a religious unit, and it also does convert cities to Spain's religion if it captures the city or if it is adjacent to the city whenever it is captured. So the major change here with the Conquistador is now that instead of requiring the religious unit to be on the same tile as the Conquistador, it just has to be on a tile next to the Conquistador. So that means if you have, a bunch of Conquistadors around a single religious unit, they are all going to get the bonus. You don't need to bring like 10 missionaries with you if you have an army of Conquistadors. You'll only need 1 or 2. So this is a pretty significant buff, and I think it does make the Conquistador quite a bit better. These guys with the +10 combat strength and additionally the +5 combat strength if you're fighting against someone of another religion, they can be very strong and do quite a bit of damage. So Conquistador as a whole, I think, is a fairly good unit now. Up next, we have Spain's unique tile improvement, which is known as the Mission. So this is a unique tile improvement that will provide +2 faith. If you put it on a different continent from your home continent, it will give an additional 2 faith, 1 production, and 1 food. It also gives 1 science for every adjacent campus and holy site, +2 science whenever you reach cultural heritage, and +2 loyalty per turn if next to a city center and also not on your home continent. So you can see that this one definitely gets quite a bit better when it's not on your home continent. Unfortunately, though, I still don't really think that this is that great of a tile improvement, just because of the fact that it only gives 1 food and 1 production. Obviously, if you're playing a religious game, having 4 faith on a tile is gonna be decent. Building these on your home continent is just really bad because they're only 2 faith base, and then maybe you can get some science on them, or eventually when you get cultural heritage, you'll get some science on them, but I feel like these are really not super good tile improvements. But playing by Spain's playstyle, though, you're probably going to be settling across a lot of continent splits, so you'll be able to get plenty of these down on other continents, which is at least somewhat decent. You can get a good bit of extra faith out of that if you want. If you're going to play domination game, then this can also help by giving you a little bit of extra loyalty. And the science, once you reach cultural heritage, and if you're able to get some good adjacency bonuses, then this actually kind of can add up. If you're able to get, some with 4 science on the tile, that's actually fairly decent. So the Mission, I think, my opinion of it has improved a little bit just because Spain is generally better on other continents. So the other thing that makes this a little nicer is that you do get that starting builder when you settle on another continent, so you can immediately put some of these down. So that kind of makes the mission itself a little more valuable, but as a whole, I'm still not a huge fan of the mission. I think it just doesn't do too much to move the needle, shall we say, on cities that are founded on your other continents. And now let's go ahead and talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses of Philip and Spain in the new finished Frontier of Pass version of Civilization 6. So for Philip's strengths, there is one that really comes to mind, and that's that he does have plenty of cross-continent bonuses. So if you're playing Philip, you pretty much have to settle across continents because that's where he gets a lot of his bonuses from. So the trade routes part is really good. I mean, so this one, the trade route one, at least, you don't even have to be settled across continents. It's just that you have to send your trade routes to other continents. So this one is able to give you plenty of gold, faith, and a little bit of production, which is always very nice. The free builder is really nice when you're settling on another continent because it allows you to go and kind of get some of your stuff up and running in a very much shorter time frame rather than having to wait to either produce or buy a builder. So that is very nice as well. In addition to this, the mission gets a ton of bonuses from being on other continents, and you also do get the additional district production bonus whenever you're on other continents. So plenty of things going on when you're settling across continents, and that is something that Spain does very good with. The other thing here is that Spain is really good at Holy War, so the Conquistador alone makes them very good at Holy War. So just the fact that this unit gets a potential up to 15 combat strength. If you have the Crusade bonus as well, then you can obviously get even more. So this unit can get ridiculously strong depending on what the scenario is in which you're fighting, if the other person has a religion or if they don't. One of the bad things with the Conquistador, though, as I didn't mention before, is that if the person that you're following doesn't have a religion, then you don't get any bonus at all, which is a bit of a bummer. But the Conquistador as a whole is very good, and Religious War on Spain just works so very well. As far as weaknesses, though, there are 2 that are, I think, pretty major for Spain. The one is that they have I would honestly put it in the realm of very bad early games. So one of the issues with Spain is that you really need a religion, but they don't get any bonuses towards founding one. So this is something that means that in the early game, you have to divert pretty much all of your resources towards getting a religion, because if you don't get it, you lose like half of the effectiveness of Spain, and then they're just an absolute garbage tier civ. So that makes it so that you can't go for super early war, which obviously sucks. And on top of that, you really don't get most of your bonuses until at least like the medieval or Renaissance era, which definitely is a bit of a bummer. You're not going to be able to use those fleets and armadas until then. You're not going to get the Conquistador until then. So their early game is really probably one of the worst ones in the game, and that is a big issue because that's one of the most important parts of the game in terms of setting you up. So whenever you're playing Spain, it kind of always feels like you're playing a game of catch-up. The other big weakness, I think, is that they have a fairly difficult playstyle to work with. The whole cross-continents thing, maybe I'm just bad at it, and the other thing is, the naval domination thing. Once again, maybe I'm just bad at it, but I don't generally think it's that good. I feel like all the naval domination civs are immediately just kind of And the other thing that I have the issue with Spain is that wanting to settle cross continents can be good if you get a good spawn that allows you to do it very early on, which helps make up for your bad early game. But aside from that, playing that waiting game where you have a really tough early game and then you eventually get the power spike later on and you have to go and take someone out can be very difficult, especially if you're playing on deity. So I think that their playstyle as a whole is not one that I particularly like, and it's one that I think a lot of players will struggle with as well. And now it is that time to give Philip his new leader ranking. So if you're new to this series, all that you really need to know here is that we use the standard tier ranking scale where S tier is the highest and then A, B, C, D, and F. So let's go ahead and first talk about domination victory and where I think Philip falls in, wow, that was some nice alliteration there, but where Philip falls in terms of the rankings for domination victory, and I think that he deserves a B. I think that he is a fairly decent domination leader, and I think it's one of the playstyles that you probably should go for whenever you're playing Philip, just because with him, you're going to be able to get a lot of bonuses from playing your religion plus domination. That's pretty much where all of his strengths come from. So this combo is something that works really nicely with him to be able to get that +5 combat strength against people following other religions, but the issue here, why he's not higher, is because, as I mentioned, if people don't have religions, you're not going to get that bonus. If they're following your religion, you're not going to get that bonus. So there are a lot of things that can make it a little bit iffy that you might not get quite as much of a combat strength bonus as you would otherwise be getting. The other thing that makes him a little bit weaker here is that his early game is bad, and when you're playing domination, half of the strength of domination is getting that early snowball, and Philip really can't do that because of the fact that you have to donate so many resources to getting a religion early on in the game. Science victory is up next, and I think that Philip now does deserve a B in science victory. So the main thing that I think makes him deserve this is the fact that you now can play a little bit more of an economy focused game rather than strictly having to go for religion and domination. So the extra bonuses you get to trade routes definitely help out here. You can use these to buy libraries or other science things. You can use the free builder on other continents to help build those cities up so that way they're capable of producing space parts or just getting out districts. Obviously, you get the production towards districts, which can help you build campuses on those cities that aren't on your home continent. Have the mission to give you a little bit of science as well. So just the fact that you can now play a little bit more of an economy-based game works with Philip's existing mission science bonuses to make him, I would say, a playable science civ. He's definitely not a super strong one, but he's got some bonuses going for him there, and the playstyle now does kind of work with this as well. So for that reason, I think he deserves a B. Culture Victory is up next, and I think he deserves a C. I don't really know why you would want to go for Culture Victory on Philip, just because I feel like you're losing something by not going at least a little bit aggressive with him, but doesn't really have any bonuses to Culture or Tourism, but he does have the economy game, and trade routes are valuable for making sure that you get tourism modifiers, and Philip is obviously pretty good with things with trade routes, so still, though, it's not enough of a really significant bonus to move his ranking up at all, so that's why he still deserves the C. Religious Victory is up next, and I think he deserves a B, so he does have some bonuses here. He gets some faith from the mission, he gets some faith from his trade routes, both of which are quite nice. He also does have the Inquisitor bonus, but the thing with the Inquisitor bonus is that it doesn't really help you win a religious victory because it just kind of helps you not lose one, so that part isn't that great, but the extra combat strength that you can get on religious units is quite nice as well for fighting religious wars, so because you do get some bonuses, the other thing that really sucks is, as I've mentioned, you don't have a bonus towards founding a religion, which is very important for religious victory, so because of these things, I think he deserves the B in religion. Diplomatic Victory is up last, and I think he deserves a C. You can, once again, still just play the very peaceful trading game and trade with a bunch of people, become friends with a lot of people, make alliances, and play a diplomatic game that way, but that's really all he has going for him in terms of diplomacy, so it's not an unplayable victory type, but also not one he's particularly good at, so for that reason, he deserves the C. And for his overall rating, I think that he is slightly better than before, but not much, so I think he is in D tier, so he has moved up from F tier, but now only into D tier. I think that, as I mentioned, I feel like his improvements are definitely helping him out, but I don't think that they're significant enough to really make him like a decent civ, and as I've said on stream, he still just kind of feels like a worse Portugal, which is, you know, some people laugh that I said that Spain is just worse Portugal, but really, you know, he has this economic game, but Portugal just kind of does it better. Same thing with the science. He gets some science from the mission, but Portugal, once again, kind of just gets it a little bit better. You can play the domination game on him, which is something that Portugal really can't do. Same thing with religion. So he has this unique playstyle with cross-continent stuff, but it's a little bit hard to make work, especially depending on how things are working out with loyalty loyalty. Naval domination, once again, isn't really the best. The Conquistador is at least good though, so he's got a little bit of an issue of he has a lot of ways he can play. Some of them work well together, some of them don't, and his playstyle is generally a little bit difficult to execute properly. The other thing that really hurts his ranking, as I've talked about before, is the fact that he has such a bad early game. The early game in Civ 6 is so important to making the rest of the game good, and when you have a leader that's bad at the early game, it makes it really hard to play catch-up, especially when you're playing on deity. So for all of those reasons, I think that he deserves a D, but if you disagree, let me know in the comment section below. So thank you everyone for watching. I have been the Saxy Gamer. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you're looking for some more Civilization 6 content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.